First page. How we doing on that?
Good.
Deductive reasoning. How are we on this? Any questions? Come in.
Oh, I probably accidentally did my paper. I'm sorry. No, you're fine.
We okay? Which following example of deductive reasoning to correct? Correct conclusion. Bill is a Dalmatian. All Dalmatians have spots. Therefore, Bill has spots. All roses are plants. All roses have thorns. Therefore,
False.
I'd say no there.
False. No.
It's which one?
A.
Correct. Deductive reasoning is when you have an if-then statement, and the if happens, then what has to happen? The what?
Then.
The then. Okay, you can't say then that if the then happens, that the if has to happen. It doesn't work like that. Okay? How about number 2? We okay there? If n plus 2 is divisible by 2, then which statement is always true?
Even. A.
N is an even number. N is a prime number. N is an odd number. N is equal to n plus 1. What would you say?
A.
N is an even number. What are the next two terms of the sequence? 12, 14, 18, 26,
42.
42. What do you think's happening here?
That it's going up by twice.
Excuse me, Rachel. Laura, we're doing something up here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It,
Here you added 2. Here you added 4. Here you added 8. Here you added what?
16.
What are you adding?
Times a bunch.
Twice as much as you were adding what? Last time. So next time I'm going to add what?
32.
Then the next time I'm going to add what?
64. So you get 74.
74 and 138. D.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, cool.
You have to pay attention. You use your calculator, whatever, to make sure that's right. Okay?
Oh, 7.
Any questions here?
Coach, check it out. I'm getting a call from Butler. They want me.
We are
The next
taking
one really
notes.
confused me. Not gonna lie.
Butler was calling me.
The Mary
How do we do on this one?
It confused me.
Okay.
Oh.
For the record,
Oh.
I'd appreciate if you guys were quiet so I could talk. Mary, Dan, Jane, and Lucy walked into the shop at 4 different times. Mary went into the shop, so we got M, D, J, and L. Okay, we'll just use that. Mary went into the shop before Lucy, so we know Mary is before Lucy, right? And I'm going to put it, they went before him up top. Jane was the first person after Dan. So Dan and then Jane, we know that. Mary was not the first person in the shop. So Mary wasn't first. Who was the first person to walk
Dan.
into the shop?
Dan the
Dirty
man.
Dan.
We know it can't be these two, can we? Because they are obviously after someone, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're after somebody, you can't, of course, be the first one. And they said, you know that she's not the first one. So the only person left to be the first one in the shop
Dan.
is Dan.
Dan the man.
Dirty Dan.
Venn diagrams show how many people are in what or what. How many students play basketball or soccer?
Hey.
That means they can be one or the other. So, here's the deal, though. You can only count these two once. So you've got what? A total of what here?
6.
Then these two, you have a total of what?
15.
These two, you have a total of what?
7.
Okay, so there's 21, 28 people that do one or the other. If it had been and, what would the answer be?
The 13.
No.
1.
No.
6.
It would have been 6. Because these are the people that are in both the circle for basketball and the circle for what? Soccer. Okay?
Oh, I didn't see tennis. That's why.
But tennis had nothing to do with it. Really, when it's all said and done, you can pretend in the question that that's not there. Agreed?
Yes.
Because we're just dealing with soccer and basketball. So the people that are in both of them are these two. These are the people that just play soccer. These are the people that just play what? Basketball,
Best.
as opposed to soccer. You have some people that play soccer and tennis, or tennis and basketball. Questions there? If the radii of two circles are equal, then the circles are congruent. What is the inverse of this statement? Inverse is not. Guys, just to review, if you have P, then Q. That's your conditional statement, right? The inverse is what is called not P, then not Q. The contrapositive is not Q, then not P. And the converse is when you flip it and it's Q, then P. So the converse is when you just flip the order, right? Inverse and contrapositive are when you say not. In other words, the opposite of each statement. Inverse is in the same order as the conditional statement, your first statement, just not on each of them. Contrapositive is like the converse except with not. So with that in mind, which one's right?
D.
Correct. Questions? Polygon is a square, then it is a quadrilateral. We've talked about this. We want to go on?
Yeah.
It's just the opposite, right?
Yeah. No. The converse is when you flip the order.
Yeah.
So it should be if the polygon is a quadrilateral, then it is a square. Is that what you guys got?
I got
A.
A. I put A.
I put B. I put B.
Look at these smart.
Converse is when you switch the order. So the polygon being a square has to go back to the B, and the polygon being a what? Quadrilateral has to go to what? So if a polygon is a what? Quadrilateral, then it is a.
Square.
These are the type that you probably, ought to make sure you know how to do, because when it's all said and done, it doesn't take a lot of math ability to do this, does it? You just have to remember the difference between converse, inverse, and all that stuff. If a quadrilateral does not have four congruent sides, then it is not a rhombus.
A.
Which of the following statement is the conditional statement that corresponds to the inverse statement above? Okay, they're saying that this is an inverse. So what am I going to take away? The what?
Nice.
So if a quadrilateral has four congruent sides, then it is a rhombus.
A.
We have money.
Got that one right.
Okay? If two lines are parallel, then they will never intersect. Which of these statements follows logically from this statement?
C.
See?
I put A.
Yeah.
On which one? Alright. I put C.
T is kind of the same thing as C. Just like you're wrong.
Okay, if two lines intersect, then they are not parallel. I mean, I guess, if two lines are not parallel, then they never intersect. This one will not work.
At all.
Agreed?
Agree.
If two lines do not intersect, then they are parallel. If two lines are not parallel, then they will intersect.
This one's confusing.
I think it's C.
For real, Mike.
This is the only one that deals with the exact things you're dealing with here.
Only one in the whole population.
Oh, really? Is that why I didn't put this in?
Okay. Transversal T cuts lines M and N. Which angle is parallel? Which angle is congruent to 1?
Angle. Angle.
Angle what? It'd be angle what? 5?
A.
Angle 4 or angle 8, wouldn't it?
Yep, and the only choice out there that equals all those are D.
Right?
Correctamundo.
Which is the measure of angle KQL?
C.
KQL, KQL. That's your question mark. If this is 100, this is what? What's this? What's this?
100.
What's this?
70.
What's this?
110. 110, 70.
Oh,
Right?
No, like I say, yeah.
Okay. Any questions here? This is 30, this is 30, this is 40, this is 40. Making this what? 140. Making this
110.
150.
I can't see.
Making this 150.
You go
Making
down.
this 140. Okay, what is the measure of angle RST?
110.
110.
Yep. 40 and 30 is what? 70, leaving 110 in this what? What is this?
Triangle.
Triangle for that to be. Okay, which statement must be true about angle 1 and angle 2 in order for the line N to be parallel to M? They have to be what?
Equal.
Measures must be equal, or they need to be congruent.
Turn down for what?
Line M intersects RS and T and W. Which statement must be true?
B.
Lines, let's see. RS and T, line M intersects line RS and T and W. Okay, statement true. Well,
B.
if this is 105, what's this? Just write down the things you know. If this is 105, what's this angle?
70.
Anytime two lines intersect, the opposite angles are congruent. So this one's what?
75.
This one's what?
105.
Okay. If this is 75, what's this one?
105.
What is this one?
75. 105. Exactly as
This is 95, what's this one?
95.
95.
This one's what?
100.
This one's 90, this one's what?
Sorry. I've been in ISP.
Okay. Do these two have anything to do with each other?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
They don't, because they're either corresponding, alternate interior, all that are not congruent. But it turns out this quad of 4 angles is congruent to this quad of 4 angles, isn't it? Meaning this line has to be what?
Parallel. That.
Parallel to that one. So R and T are what?
Parallel.
Okay. What's the value of X? Well,
B.
this one, these two are congruent. These are congruent. So these two are congruent, aren't they?
Yes.
They're alternate exterior angles. So what's your equation?
5.
If this is equal to that, what's your equation?
5x minus 30 equals x plus 30. We sound like we're like
Related.
no. What's it called?
Quiet. What they asked for. Make sure and look what they asked for.
X.
They might have asked for that angle, right?
Yeah.
So pay attention. They'll do little stuff like that to you. Answer is what?
15.
Because they asked for X.
If the EOI is anything like
How are
this,
we here?
good.
Good.
Now, you may be, but how about the rest of you?
Yeah, I got it.
Which has to be supplementary to 6?
4.
B.
Angle 4.
For these two to be parallel.
2.
For those two to be parallel. Now, that's the thing. These two have to be parallel. So, obviously, 5 and 7 are supplementary. 5 and 6 are. 6 and 8 are. 8 and 7 are. Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
But that has nothing, that has no bearing on whether this is parallel. For us to say this is parallel to this, an angle from up here has to be supplementary to what? An angle down here. Do you see the difference? Yes, 1 and 3 have to be supplementary, but they don't have to be supplementary for these to be what? And what I mean by that is, look at this. Obviously, those two aren't, these two lines aren't parallel, are they?
No.
But don't those still add to what?
180.
And those still add to what?
180.
What won't happen is this one plus this one won't add to 180. Or these two won't add to 180 because they're not parallel. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the answer is what has to be supplementary to 6 would be angle 4.
You got it right. Maddie, pulling it out.
Oh, well,
Like I said, 8 is supplementary to angle 6, but that doesn't mean that they're parallel. Right here.
I need help on this one. I didn't understand.
Which angle is supplementary to WTB?
This is easy.
WT, quiet.
Sorry.
This is a what kind of angle?
Acute.
A 40-degree angle. What's the only type of angle that can be supplementary to a 40-degree angle? I need a 100 and what?
40.
140-degree angle.
So that's
Now, if you notice, these make a straight line here, don't they?
Okay, that's simple.
So, WT what?
Z.
The problem may be naming it. WTZ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angle 3 and 4 statement what must be true. If angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, what must be true? Can anybody tell me?
Line N is a perpendicular to line.
Well, if these two are congruent, they make 180, right? So it means this is what? These two are 90, right?
Yeah.
So it probably has something to do with that, doesn't it? And if you read here, line M is parallel to N, has nothing to do with it. Line M is perpendicular to line N. They're not. Line N is perpendicular to line P. N, P. Is that it?
Yep.
Yes.
Just got to read and make sure. And part of the problem in geometry and EOI tests is being able to speak the language, know what they're talking about.
Why wouldn't it be?
Why
What
would
do you mean, D?
C.
Oh, excuse me.
Whoa.
That was a verb.
Yes, it was. Excuse me very much. I read parallel and read perpendicular down here. See how you can make little dumb mistakes by just
Yeah.
trying to go too fast? Because I'm trying to go fast and get through as much as we can right now, and I just quick panned my eyes down here and read perpendicular on C when it was actually what? We've all done that before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Read one line down.
No.
So take your time. Remember, it's not a time test. Okay? I mean, it's as terrible as the burp and the mistake I just made was. It was good, wasn't it? It taught how easy it is to make a mistake. Excuse me, by the way.
Number 19
Number 19 is so What?
No, it's not. Well, kind of is, but measure two complementary angles are this. So what does complementary mean? This is a vocabulary lesson, isn't it? Complementary means two angles add to?
36.
No, 90.
Complementary.
Ah, that's why I did it wrong.
So 2x plus 2 plus what?
3x minus 5 equals
Has to
90.
equal what?
90.
Now it's just combined like terms.
Alright.
It's like this answer is. Oh, we did that. Yeah.
I didn't understand.
Right.
Say it.
If you don't know what complementary is, you're going to have problems, aren't you?
Yep. We did
What'd you
that,
get?
but we still got the wrong answer.
I got B, 39.2 degrees.
I did that, but I got the wrong. Like I didn't get an answer. I also got B.
Well, first of all, what is 93 divided by 5? What is 93 divided by 5?
I'll tell you, coach. 3, 5. 18.6.
Okay. However, what did they ask for?
They asked for measures of two complementary angles.
They asked for the measure of the what?
Smaller angle.
So now that you have x, you know one of the angles is 2 times whatever x is plus 2. What is that? What is 2 times 18.6 plus 2?
39.2.
My calculator.
What is 3 times 18.6 minus 5?
50.8.
Do those add to 90?
Yes.
So you did it right, and they asked for the?
Smaller angle.
So what is the answer?
B.
Once again,
So once you
there was
get
kind of
X-
two parts of that. There was being able to read and answer the question correctly and answer what they asked for. Because as you can see, they were just mean enough to put 50.8 on there, weren't they? To see if you read the words what? Smaller.
So pretty much once you find X, you just have to plug it in.
Yeah. Well, they said that this angle is this, 2 times whatever x is plus 2. So we found x, and they asked for the measure of the angle, so that's how you found each one. Okay? This one is the same type of deal. Finding x is not hard, but the x is not what they asked for. They ask for the measure of RHS. So they want this right here, that angle. However, though, we're all looking at this. What do these two angles create? A what? Straight line. So we know they add to what?
180.
So if I knew what this angle was, could I find this one?
Yes.
And vice versa, same thing here.
Yes.
What do I know about when two lines intersect the opposite angles?
They're congruent.
So what would my equation there be?
4x minus 80 equals 2x.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Why did I set this up? Because if I find x, I know that this angle is 2 times whatever x is, right? Does everybody agree? So I'll be able to find this angle, which will lead me to what?
That angle.
So we'll subtract 4x. Negative 80 is equal to negative 2x. X is equal to a positive what? Is that my answer?
No.
But look what they put on here.
That's what I put. I got confused.
A lot of people make this kind of mistake. Read the question. Take your time.
See?
First of all, think of it like this. In a lot of these questions, you're going to find everything you can find with the knowledge you have. But then, with that knowledge, answer the question. They ask you to find, first of all, you found what x is equal to. I mean, you wrote it right there, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you found that x is equal to 40. They asked for this, though. How does that help me knowing x?
2x is
I know that this angle's got to be 80, don't I? Because 2 times 40 is what? What's left for this to be?
100.
Make sense?
Yeah. My friend answered that.
They're going to try to trick you in that aspect. And remember, I'm going to upload this the second we're done, so if you want to look at this again when you go home, you can. And I'll hopefully upload all of this so you can go over this and watch it again and go over it Sunday night before you come take the EOI.
Let's go.
EOI is a week from yesterday, yes. How many sides does a heptagon have?
7.
4. Oh, I thought we were talking about this thing. Sorry.
Okay. What type of figure is shown here?
Concave quadrilateral.
Concave means it's caved in. Okay? It does look like a triangle that got caved in, but once you caved it in, one side became what?
2.
So there's 1, 2, 3.
4.
There's no such thing as a concave triangle. It is a concave. It'd be impossible to draw a concave triangle.
It'd just be a line. Right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it can't be caved. You can't cave it in because once you cave it in, you bend it to make one side into 2. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay, right here. What is the measure of an interior angle of an equilateral triangle? Triangle has
60.
3 sides. And if you're ever curious, n minus 2 times what? 180 will get you the sum of all the sides. Then you can divide it by the number of sides, and that would give it to you. But there is 180 degrees inside of a triangle, correct?
Yes.
There are only 3 angles.
Yes.
And they all have to be equal, so that means you have to split up 180 evenly 3 times, which is the same as dividing it by 3, correct? So 60, 60, what? 60 is an equilateral triangle, so the answer is?
60.
And it says equal angular is the same as an equilateral, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, give quadrilateral RS, given quadrilateral RS2, what is the value of x? Okay, they ask for what here? Okay. Quadrilateral, 1, 2, 3, 4. What are all the angles inside a quadrilateral have to add to?
360.
If you're unsure, what is n minus 2 times 180? You can always find the sum of the interior angles. That'd be 4 minus 2 times what?
180.
That'd be 2 times 180. What do you get?
60.
If you're ever unsure, n minus 2 times 180, right? So I know this plus this plus this plus this has to equal what? 360?
Yes.
So 100 plus 2x minus 10 plus what? X plus 30 plus what? 150, all have to equal what?
360.
So the answer is B.
Once you solve this, you get what? 3x, 100, that's 90, 120, plus 270. X is equal to what?
30.
30. What did they ask me for? Did they ask for any of these angles?
No.
They asked for?
X.
X.
Answer's B.
Isn't that nice?
Questions there? We okay? All right.
What's how we leave it?
I got you. If this is 110, what's this?
70.
Now,
You got a nice
what
sauce
makes
there.
sense? If two sides of a triangle are congruent, what do you know about the
Two angles.
two angles are also what? Congruent. So if this is 70, what's this?
40.
70. This is
Probably
70.
talking about the
Look,
top one.
look, well, look what I'm doing now before you answer your question. This is 70. What's 70 plus 70?
140.
How much is left for this to be?
40.
Is that what they asked for? What is the value of K?
Yep.
Hi.
40. Question? What was the key there? Knowing that in a triangle, if two sides are congruent, the two angles are what?
How'd you find out that it was 70 then?
Because
This makes a what?
supplementary angle.
Straight line, does it not? Remember those, one of those things I always told you, if you have an angle like that, what do you know those two angles added together have to be?
180.
Because it makes a straight line. If it looks like this, do they add to 180?
No.
But if it looks like that, do those two angles add to 180? Because it makes a straight line. Okay?
I need help on this one.
Okay. In terms of x, guys,
Gahin.
if this is as much or more of an algebra problem than it is a geometry problem. When you say in terms of x, that means that I'm giving you the answer in terms of x. In other words, there's going to be x's in your answer. It's not just going to be a number. So, you can either pick a variable for this, or just say the measure of angle. I mean, you guys want to pick a different variable for angle S?
Put Y.
Y? You guys want to call it Y?
Sure.
You guys okay with that?
I did.
Or you could just say measure of angle S. All you know, you do know this, the measure of angle S plus the measure of angle what? R plus the measure of angle T has to equal what?
180.
Everyone agrees with that, right? So now you have a way to relate all three angles. Do you have anything to put in for that?
No, X.
Do you have anything to put in for that?
Yes.
What is it?
3x plus 4.
Plus, do you have anything to put in for angle T?
Yes, 4x plus 10.
Excuse me.
All of that has to equal what?
180.
And now they ask you to write it in terms of x. What that means is you're going to solve for the measure of angle S, get it by itself, and get everything else on the other side. First, I would combine like terms and get the measure of angle S plus 7x minus 6 is equal to 180. Does everyone see how I got that?
Yep.
Yes.
Now what am I going to do? I'm going to add 6, and I'm also going to subtract 7x. So the measure of angle S is equal to, I'll put the x first, negative 7x plus what, 186? Does everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one of those is that?
D.
Right away doesn't look like any of them, but what did they do here?
You swapped them.
Swap, they went 186 minus 7x. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
There's your answer.
I knew what was angle.
See how it's just in terms of x? You do that because then, okay, hey, what happens if x is 2? All you have to do is put it in and you know what s would be. What happens if x is 5? You put it in, you know what x, it's like a formula for the measure of angle s. That's exactly what it is. Okay? Like I said, that's as much an algebra problem as it is a geometry. Not a big fan of that one. But what I'm a fan of doesn't matter. For a rectangle PQRS, the diagonal for P to R is 100 feet. So from there to there is 100 feet, right? How long is the diagonal from Q to S?
100 feet.
Does anybody know the answer to that?
100 feet.
Okay, let's say you don't remember that theorem, right? It turns out that the diagonals inside of a rectangle are, oh, that's one of the things about a rectangle, they are congruent. But were they nice enough to draw a pretty close to scale rectangle for you? Let's say you didn't remember that theorem. This is what I want to tell you about just smart test taking. Okay? Let's say you don't remember. I mean, how many of you remember that theorem? Be honest. About 3 of you? How many of you could look at that picture and say, it looks like they're the same?
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Agreed?
That's how I figure out
If you don't remember the theorem, and you have nothing to go on, first try to remember it, try to think about it, try to be logical about it, but would it be best to just go by what the picture? I mean, does that make it a better educated guess on on something like an EOI, you better believe it. It really doesn't, there's just no way it's double it, is there?
No.
And there's no way it's half it. They're really the only two that are even conceivably possible are C and B, aren't they?
Yeah.
And is there any way, I mean, that's a pretty close to looking right rectangle, that this one's almost 50% bigger than the other one? No. Make sense? So if you will take your time, you will logically go through, because a lot of what geometry is teaching you is logic. Okay, here's what I give you, find an answer from that. Find a way to do it. There's always different ways to do it. Use that. Like the next one for rectangle, what is the length of HT?
Yeah. I figured this one out really weird. Didn't even use math.
Were you asking me?
Factory of zero.
Here we go. This one's 6, this one's 6. Now, you know it's a rectangle, you know that's 90. You could probably use Pythagorean's theorem, can't you?
Yep.
To find what? The whole thing. Agreed?
Yep.
However, the diagonals do bisect each other, but whichever way, that's how you would do it. So, we'll call this x, okay? So 6 squared plus 8 squared would equal x squared, because that's the hypotenuse, isn't it? Because that's the right angle. Does everybody see that?
Yep.
36 plus 64 equals x squared. What does that make that? X. That's the whole thing. So what's that one? Because the diagonals bisect each other. So here's the thing. 4 would be possible, 6 would be possible. Would 10 even be possible? Would it make sense from here to here is 10?
No.
Probably not. It looks somewhat to scale, but like I said, you could at least get one of those out, couldn't you?
What's funny is that the answer I first got.
That's because you forgot to cut it in half. Why did they put 10 in here? To trick you, to confuse you, and see if you'll remember that they actually asked for what?
HT instead of
HT. As sad as this is, a lot of this is as much a reading and geometry language test as it is geometry. That's where a lot of the mistakes are made, in understanding the language, understanding what's asked you. That's a little frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's a lot of what geometry is actually teaching. Logic, things like that. And it's not just shapes, trust me. In the parallelogram, the diagonals RT and ST intersect at point W, okay. If RW is 2x plus 2, and RT, the whole thing, is what?
3x plus
3x plus 8. What is WT?
8. 2x plus 2.
You know it's 2x plus 2, right?
Yep.
Because they bisect, parallelograms, the diagonals bisect each other. You guys see an equation there?
1/2 3x plus 8.
Or I could do 2x plus 2 plus what?
2x plus 2.
The two smaller parts equal what? The whole thing, which is,
Yep.
so this becomes what? 4x plus 4 is equal to 3x plus 8. What am I going to do now? X is equal to what?
12.
4?
Yeah, I got it right.
Now, did you circle A as your answer?
Yeah.
Did you? How many of you circled A as your answer? You were wrong.
How? Because it's.
Is it
You
C?
double it because
What?
it's 8. I mean, what?
They ask you, what is WT?
The answer's not on there.
What is WT?
The limit
2
is
times
not
whatever X is, plus 2. So 2 times what?
Oh.
In your face.
Oh,
The answer is?
You're so cool.
Shut up! Both of you.
I want to get up. Too lazy.
Hey, the answer is?
C.
Another reason what you have to do.
Trying to give him a little recognition.
Parker,
What?
quit being a sore winner.
It's like the only one
Stop
like,
rubbing it in.
that I've gotten right, like that's complicated like that. So.
Okay, but you can be proud, happy for yourself,
I
because you don't
am-
have to rub it into other people. Do you?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yes, because he said I was wrong and an idiot yesterday about this one, so.
Okay, do it after class. Robert wants to build a fence around his perfectly square garden. It's perfectly square. Okay? So what does that mean if it's perfectly square?
All the sides are equal.
So if that's X, this is what? They're all X, right? If the area of the garden is 100 square feet, how many feet of fence will he need? Well, 100 is equal to, what would the area be? Length times width, which would be X times what? X, would everyone agree with that?
Sure.
Which would make it X what? So, if I take square root of both sides, what is each side? Because wouldn't it make sense, 10 by 10 would be a square, 10 times 10 is 100, right? So that means this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, and this is 10. So if he's going to build this, how much fence is he going to need?
40 feet.
40 feet.
Stop. Thank you.
Here's another thing. I've told you guys, on a test, if they tell you to use 3.14, do not use the pi button.
Oh, darn.
Use 3.14.
Wow.
But think about it, guys. What did they tell you to do?
Use 3.14.
So what do they want you to do?
Use 3.14 instead of 3.142, whatever.
Use 3.14, okay? If they tell you to do that, then what? Do it.
Do it.
If they don't tell you, leave in terms of pi. Do you see what I'm saying? So your answer that's going to be down here
That's why they're all off.
is going to be using 3.14. So, you know this. Pi r squared is equal to what? 314. Does everyone agree? Because that's this area of the pool, correct? Do you have a number to put in here? Shut up, Sean. Pay attention. Do you have a number to put in here?
3.14.
You don't have anything for that. So what do? Divide both sides by what? 3 point what?
1
R squared is equal to what? What is 314 divided by 3.14? Can someone tell me, please? Take the square root of both sides. What is the radius? What did they ask for?
The diameter.
So what's the answer? Is it 10?
20.
Once again, this is a what type of problem? Math and reading problem. Firstly, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. I don't think they need to do this quite as much as they do, but it's obvious they're going to. Because to me, this is a math problem. We're testing geometry. Now, part of geometry is paying attention to detail, but it's like they're trying to trick you. And unfortunately, they're going to do that. If you haven't learned that lesson from the ones we've done on the board here, you haven't learned it. So the thing is, find the things you think you need to find, then after you're done, always do what? Did I answer the question? Right? Because, I mean, how many in here know that the radius is half the diameter? Raise your hand if you know that. Is that all? How many of you in here know that? Does everyone in here know that the radius is half the diameter? So if you were to take just a split second after you're done doing this problem and read that they want the what?
Diameter.
What did you find?
The radius.
All of you can make that step from one to the other, but if we're trying to go too fast, and I know that's why we've split it up into 2 days. So instead of having 60 problems to do, you only have what? 30. You get to take a rest. So you can really focus on those 30 problems, things like that. Mark them for later, things like, so you can do better. It's to help you because they know that, for instance, they're going to be tricky like this. That if you get relaxed mentally and you don't focus on what they're asking you, you get like how Taylor is right now, half sleeping, you're going to flunk. Sit up. Oracle, sit up. You're going to fall asleep. What additional fact proves the angle RST, and this is also why I decided to split this up into 2 days. Because this is hard going over this many problems. What? You get tired, don't you?
I got number 32.
You've got 32.
Oh, okay.
This one was confusing.
Circular park, 4 circular parks of different sizes are surrounded by fence. Park 1 has half the diameter of Park 2. Okay, so P1 is equal to 1/2
P2.
P2. actually, I'm gonna use a different sheet of paper here. Park 1 is equal to 1/2 P2, okay? Park 1 has half the diameter of Park 2, 1/3 the diameter of Park 3, so P1 is equal to 1/3 P3, okay? Everybody see what I'm doing so far?
Yep.
Yes.
And 1/4 P1 is equal to what? 1/4 what? P4. If one bundle of fence exactly surrounds Park 2, P2 equals one bundle. Okay? How many bundles of fence will be used in this project? Okay. So basically, I know that P2 equals what? 1. Everybody agree? How does that help me find another one? Well, we know P1 is equal to what? 1/2 of whatever what? P2 is. P2 is what?
1.
So P1 is equal to what? 1/2. Everyone agree?
Yes.
So I found 2 of them now. Now, since I know what P1 is, I can put it in right here. 1/2 of a bundle equals 1/3 P what? 3. How do I solve for P3 here? Multiply by what? The reciprocal. Everyone see that? So P3 is equal to what? 1 and 1/2 bundles. Does everybody see how I got that? We okay? See, this was 3/2, which is 1 and 1/2. So, P1, which is what? 1/2 is equal to 1/4 of whatever what? Park 4 is, P4. So what am I going to do now? Multiply both sides by what? The reciprocal, which is 4/1. P4 is equal to what? 2. So, I'm going to need one bundle for Park 2. Park 1, I'm going to need what? Half a bundle. Park 3, I'm going to need what? Park 3, what am I going to need? 1.5 bundles, right? Park 4, I'm going to need what? 2 bundles. 1, 3, 4, right? And 1/2 more makes what? Yeah. 5 bundles. Laura, are you looking up here? Or are you doing the other problems?
I was actually looking at the bottom of the
Okay,
I'm already completely done. I haven't had it.
that's right. That's right, you did finish. This will improve your headache. Watch me do this. It does every time. It makes headaches all better. 5 bundles. So what's the answer?
5 bundles.
B. That's kind of hard. But when things are hard, break them down. Write them down. Because all I did is, we know what's hard about this? Converting the words into what? Kind of a math equation, isn't it? Because once I put this and then I just plugged in things I knew, P2 equals 1. This all was given to us, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was just transferring that into the other. If you try to read a problem like that and think 5 bundles is going to pop into your head the second you read the answer, you got another thing coming. If that pops into your head, you should be in an honors class. Because you're pretty dang good at computations. That's going to take some thinking and breaking the stuff down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you have estimated 5? Yeah, but just as well you could estimate 3 or 6, couldn't you? I mean, come on. Okay, next one. Which additional fact proves that angle RST or that the triangles are similar? Okay. If you'll remember, you probably don't, there's angle-angle similarity. There is side-side-side similarity. And there is side-angle-side similarity. I've been given 2 angles. What do you think they're asking me to say? The third one, right? This one's 40. Either J or what? I would say T, angle K needs to be 45. Is there anywhere that says that?
No.
No, there isn't. Okay. If angle K was 45, what would J have to be? Is there anything that says angle J is 95?
Yep.
Yeah, boy.
There you go.
We need to calculate.
This is a bad problem. Because who says a strong scale? Really, K would work too. Well, no, it wouldn't. I'm sorry. You know how they tell? How can you tell what corresponds to what? R should correspond to what? You got to assume that they wrote it in corresponding order. S corresponds to what? And T corresponds to K. But even still, they should write it as a congruency statement if they're going to do that. Or a similarity statement, I'm sorry. That is not a similarity statement there. But whenever it's like that, it's a little confusing. Use that they're written in corresponding order. Which pair of facts proves that triangle RST and WXY are similar? Well, once again, R needs to be, corresponds to W, right? S corresponds to what? And T corresponds to Y. So it looks like two angles, S congruent to X. That would be good there. How about R congruent to W? That would be good there. That would be angle, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And that's enough. Okay. You notice how I put different shapes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Little, you can do any little thing like that you want to help you, you know, see things. If they're similar, what must be true? Let's see. R must correspond to what? X. S must correspond to what? Y. And T must correspond to Z. Correct? How they've written it? So, let's see. ST. Circle square should correspond to circle square. It should correspond to that, shouldn't it? Triangle square should correspond to triangle square. And then these two should correspond.
Equilateral.
So make sure that's how it works. Let's say I have ST over YZ. Good. That should be equal to RT over what corresponds to it?
XZ.
So that's what I got.
See, that's here. This is wrong, right? You can find where all of them are wrong there. So all of this is wanting you to use what? Basically the similarity statement that they're acting like they've written here, which I don't see that as an official similarity statement, but evidently they do. They wrote the test, they know more than me. But they're expecting you to write them in, they're written in corresponding order, so they're telling you what corresponds to what. Okay? Okay, that's enough. We'll do the rest tomorrow.